I'm here with my friend Robert Akeley, and we're going to do a little video about Robert and his home here in Oakland. Robert, some history about your house.
Well, it was built in 1892 by an unknown architect and for a man named Mauser, M-A-U-S-E-R, who was a general physician. And there are two front doors, one to the house and the other to the waiting room.
Oh, okay.
Behind the waiting room was the consultation room. So that was the professional part of the house, and this was the personal part. But we don't know who did the art. When I first came here, it was I'd lived in San Francisco for a while and had a chance to see what Victorian houses looked like, and this was obviously a very good example of Queen Anne, and the neighborhood was a wreck, so it was very inexpensive. And I grabbed it.
So you're only the second owner?
No, no, about the third.
About the third owner?
Yeah.
Okay.
A family from a Swiss-Italian family owned it for 2 generations. And the man that I bought it from was a house painter. I'm not sure what his father and mother did, but they had had it on the market for a year, and this neighborhood had fallen into very serious disrepair during the late 60s, early 70s. So all the property was very inexpensive.
Now, was this always the size of the lot? Do you know? It seemed like such a big house for such a small.
I think that lot must have been part of it, because the back door, the original back door, goes in that direction.
Right.
And if you go out there, then you suddenly hit the fence. So I think that garden over there must have been part of this.
Because it's a, you know, considering the house and the carriage house in the back, right, it's not a huge piece of property.
No.
It, yeah, the front porch. I don't recall you using the front porch a lot.
No, I feel exposed. Well, the backyard is so attracting.
It's so private. Yeah, everything always sort of happened in the backyard or the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the garden here. This wasn't, when I first met you, this was not here.
No. We had many trees here, and people gave me trees, and I planted them. There were none when I came. We planted them all, and then finally reduced them to 2, and one sat here for a long time, and then we cut it down, but the trunk was so handsome that we kept it with all of its roots. And then about 5 years ago, that rotted, and the fellow who lived in the barn for 24 years was also a stonemason, and he did all of this for me as he just before he left. A couple of roses.
Yeah. Robert has just tons of roses on the side of the house and also in the back, and one of his loves is taking care of his roses. And here we are in the back. I think I remember when you planted the bougainvillea. So that would have been when?
Oh, also in the 70s, maybe 75.
Yeah, it's just huge now.
Yeah.
Now, did you put the deck in?
Yes, yeah, it was. The back door went out that way. So see how it would just run into the fence.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to I put the French doors in. I wanted the sun to come in and a place to have a sort of a resting place on the outside.
Right.
So it actually has, this is the second porch we had. The first one was built by a friend who wasn't really very experienced, and so we've replaced it since by a better one.
So the backyard is really totally private.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, now we call this the carriage house, but is it really a carriage house?
Oh yes, this is where the doctor had his horse and buggy. I mean, if that's what a carriage house means.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The horse was on this side, and the buggy is on that side, and then upstairs is the hayloft. That's where the art studio.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you paint downstairs? Is that?
I do these days, yes. When I first came here, I was 40 and was in the middle of a midlife change or a crisis or whatever you call that, and I reduced my work significantly and decided to begin to paint, and that's where I painted is upstairs.
Okay. We should go over to the side of the carriage so we can see.
And it's sagging a little now, and this is we're gradually lifting it so that it will be preserved. And because I like it a lot. Other people have said, why don't you tear it down and build apartment houses? But I think it's maybe the only barn in the East Bay, so I want to keep it.
Maybe, does it have a stone foundation?
It has a brick foundation.
A brick foundation. It's just settling after all these years.
Yes.
Yeah. And then over to the side, we'll see Robert's roses. It's a little late in the season, but still. Oh, yeah. Now, when you had a car, did you ever keep it in the...
No.
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 It's always been...
No, I just wanted the space. And it was very uncrowded when I first came here, so there was plenty of parking space right outside. We did have a housemate for a while who wanted to fix cars. I said no.
No, right.
So it's so crowded up here, but the fellow who lives here is here only 4 nights a week, and he won't be back till tomorrow night. This is Douglas here on the right with his grandson.
Okay.
And he's a civil engineer, but he's also a Zen priest. And so he has his cushion to sit on and likes the simplicity of living here without heat and with pretty primitive surroundings. But this is where I painted for the first several years that I was here. And we put the windows in to bring some light. It was not, of course, didn't have windows, of course, to start with, but I didn't want to put too many windows in to make it look like the ideal artist's studio does, because I figured that most artists didn't start an ideal studio. They didn't get one until they were in their 60s or something.
Right. And the other half over here someone else uses?
Yes, one of the other housemates uses this for he's a photographer, and he has lots of junk here now, but he just got married. Oh, and another one uses this product.
So,
makes crackers that he sells. This was part of Matt's marriage just 2 months ago, and he had a very big celebration for that. But this is in the process of becoming his photography studio, and this fellow is going to move out. And since Doug is here only 4 nights a week, there's no point in having it empty, it seems like, all the rest of the time. So,
we're going to stop here. There we go.
This will bring us some light. This is where the hay came in.
Oh, okay.
And there used to be a rope here that was attached to a pulley up there, and we liked having it because we needed to use it to bring things up with.
Right.
But I had often very large gatherings in the backyard, and about 5 years ago, we had maybe 300 people here, and it went on and the wine flowed, and eventually there was a competition among some of the more masculinoid males, and they wanted to compete for who could climb up here. And they fell. So I thought, well, we better take that down.
Right.
I don't have to pay that insurance.
Right.
So the rope is no longer up
Okay.
to attract the drunks.
We're now inside, I guess we call this the foyer.
Yes.
And so this is right behind the double doors, and there's lots of art in the house. I'm going to let Robert explain that.
Well, this is the stump that was in the front that we were talking about. That preceded the present stonework out there. And Tom, the fellow who lived in the hayloft in the barn for 24 years, was trained as a painter at the local art school, California Arts School of Arts and Crafts, and he did this one as he did the stonework.
And so this would have been the reception room for the doctor, the original builder of the home.
And it's a guest room now, you can see, this is Yosemite Park, where I have several of this man's paintings. The fellow that I knew the best inherited the house and all of his paintings when he died, and this is perhaps the best one of the valley at Yosemite.
Was that the guy who lived up in the Sierras that Richard knew?
No.
No, that was somebody else. Okay.
He's from New York.
Okay.
And he was hired by a railroad company. He painted foyers and theaters and hotels in New York City. And he was hired by one of the big railroad companies to come out and do the inside of their exhibit hall for the 1915 fair. And then he got out here in California and just fell in love with it, so he did lots of landscapes here in California.
Now, when you moved in, was all the woodwork bare when you moved in?
It was all painted once in the 40s. It had, I think it must have had varnish on it first, and then about one or maybe two coats of, it seemed like water-based paint. As I mentioned, I had a midlife event, and much of the emotion I felt was aggression and anger, so I was able to have lots of strength to strip the woodwork. And I had some help from friends, of course, too. But the stripping material that one used back then was much more efficient than that which is available today. On the other hand, at the end of the day, one's head was spinning. In a way that was a pleasure, but probably not good for the brain.
Let's move over to the living room.
This was the living room for sure, but it seemed like we ought to have it as a music room because I had inherited a good piano, and so this is the music room. And this Jim picked this up at. This is at Broadwood.
Oh, I remember.
And the movie about Beethoven talked about a Broadwood because some rich woman had bought him one. And so after Jim went on ahead, we took it out of the shop where he'd left it and brought it back here. It doesn't stay in tune, so we don't use it, but it's beautiful to look at.
It doesn't have a metal sounding, metal frame. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And these look like more paintings from the same person.
This is near Santa Barbara by my guess, and that's down in the big park just north of Mexico.
Now, was the mantle painted? Did you have to strip the mantle?
No, the mantle was not.
Okay.
I think he must have picked the mantle up at a shop of some kind. It doesn't seem to fit the rest of the house. It's a nice oak. The rest of the house is redwood, but.
Right.
This was Peter was my close friend for 15 years, he was a painter and a sculptor, and he did this piece here, and it was supposed to be me, and he said it was me because of the big nose and the fact that my mouth was open, because my nose often didn't work, so I had to breathe through my mouth, and besides, it's empty inside.
It's good. So I think that typically this is like a Victorian parlor.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I think this was the dining room, and I used it as this at first, but it just seemed like we ought to have this as the living room and that as the music room. And this is my young cousin who plays my brother's cello.
Right. Now, the last time I was here, he was a grade school child.
Yes.
Yes, and they played on the back porch.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a little soiree,
Yeah.
sort of a
Yeah.
this kind of thing. And I knew he had your brother's cello,
Right.
and now he's a professional cellist.
And he won a Grammy this year.
Oh,
He now
we can drop names.
he now has a partner, and they have a child, and she's also classically trained, but they play with what they call a traditional Cuban group, which is Latin-sounding music, and they won a particular subcategory. As I said to him, he wouldn't have won it if he lived in Akron, but they live in Hollywood. So.
I see. Now, Robert, is this the original fixture in here?
No, that was from a house up in Marin County somewhere that a fellow who lived here, and the fellow who did who scraped the floors. The floors were oaked. That is, they were painted presumably to look like oak. It didn't, to me, it had yellowed, and so we thought we'd scrape them. And the fellow who did that found this in a house in Marin. And this is by another fellow who lived in the barn. Stephen was his name. And this is the barn here. That is his version of it. As you can see, that's the door upstairs that we were looking through.
Oh, and there's the print that we talked about. Was that the print that we talked about?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was on jury duty in San Mateo.
Right.
And I go down the hall and I see this print on the wall, and I thought, it's Robert's house.
Come here, this is the one.
Oh, this is the one. Okay. I'm going to stop this right here.
I was told by the folks from whom I bought the place that this very large room was intended to be the lying-in ward for pregnant ladies who were having trouble with their pregnancy. Whether that be true or not, I don't really know. But it does make some sense for the size of the room.
Because this is the original size.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. And this is my hideaway up here. This is my what the British would call a bed sitter, a bedroom and a sitting room at the same time.
Right.
And I can retreat from the confusion downstairs if there's
And this painting is?
That's by Tom as well.
Right.
We did the ones downstairs. He's a painter who likes to paint, but not to try to promote or sell.
Right.
You know, that's a very big job. It takes at least 50% of your time to promote yourself.
Right. So this would be...
This is the tower.
The tower.
Yeah.
We'll just...
And then...
and this is one of your paintings over here? Yes.
Yeah.
Over the stairwell.
Yeah. These are two. And then if that other one is the lying inward, this is the nurse's station.
I like this room though a lot.
I do too. Yeah. And These are like the Claremont Hotel.
Right.
Inside there are these shapes, and this is considered in downtown Oakland. This house is registered as a story and a half. So I mean, it's obviously lower than the other ones. And this was just attic when I first came here.
Oh, okay, because I didn't...
We thought we'd have a bathroom here.
I didn't even know this was up here.
Really? And well, we figured that if you put a window in the roof, then it would make it workable.
Right.
And then we're going to go into, this used to be just the attic here, where young people would sleep on the floor. But then we decided a couple of years ago to put the windows in the ceiling here and to put a sleeping loft up there. So you can go up here and open that window up there and the night here if you want to. So we have room for company.
Oh, okay.
This room never belonged. That room with that had the tower room,
right,
is lived in by a regular full-time housemaid.
Right.
This is a guest room here, or this is what we call the contemplation room. If I have some company and the kitchen is full, then we come up here and do what one does before dinner.
I see. So this is the southwest room.
Yes, and this is where the doctor saw his patients.
Okay.
And this is a painting of Carl Jung, who was the man I respected the most, who was a generation too older than I.
Now, when you were practicing psychiatry more, did you see patients here at the house, or you do?
Yes. No, I had the office for 25 years in the city, in North Beach, and I wanted to be where the artists were, and I found a good place there. But in 1987, I closed that, and the waiting room was my office for several years.
Okay.
And then nowadays I see folks in the dining room. I only see maybe 3 or 4 people a week these days.
Okay.
All these paintings are mine, I think. That's the fig tree. All the houses in this area. This was the Italian section a couple of generations ago, and everybody has a fig tree and a lemon tree in the backyard.
Right. And I think the people next door still do a lot of fruit and vegetable gardening.
Definitely.
Yeah. Italian?
Yes.
Yeah.
They came here the same year I did.
Right. And they're still here?
Yeah. He died. She's in bed with a cold today, but she and I are very tight. And it's her son who did the plumbing upstairs.
Oh, I see. Okay. All in the kept it all in the family.
Yeah.
So, a second, Robert. There we go. Okay. We're going into the kitchen and the bathroom.
By way of the bathroom, yes. This is I consider this Art Deco bathroom.
Oh, yes.
It's got the deco colors. I think it was actually 40s rather than 30s, but and then here's another painting of mine which is fun to show, and that's a man's view of the toilet.
So we're moving into the kitchen from the hallway.
This came to the house, the chocolate block, too heavy to move.
Right. So the double doors, like you said, you put the double doors in. It was
in the 80s, yeah.
There was no door?
No, the door was over here.
Yeah, okay.
It's still there, but we just covered it up.
Okay. So
this is another painting of Tom's. Fried eggs.
And where's Tom these days?
He's up in, he went to Paradise. There's a place in California.
Called Paradise. I thought maybe the final resting place, but no.
No, he never liked to sell his paintings. He never made a lot of money, but his His mother was in the same kind of situation that I am in. She bought a house in San Jose for very little money, and it increased in value enormously. And so when she went on ahead, he inherited it and had enough to buy a place up in Paradise. He came to live in Berkeley when he was 20 or so, and feels that it has changed unacceptably, and he wanted to go to a more open, physically more open place. It's not what you might call socially more open up there. There are a few. Some people up there are described as being so far to the left, they're right.
Right. Yes.
Very strong-minded, narrow-minded people.
Okay, I think we're rolling. You can go through.